that says live. As usual, we're gonna give it a couple of minutes as people filter in. Hopefully we'll have a lovely big audience that are going to be sending us lots of questions. I think as part of our little moment while this happens is I would love to hear from anybody coming in the audience, and Patrick as well, actually. What are some of the more fun things that you've used AI for? Go on, Pat. Can you tell me first?
40 minutes ago, I was trying to prepare for this webinar, LinkedIn Live, Lauren, and my mate sent me a song from Udio, and it was a song about our holiday in about 6 months. It generates music, and it was staggeringly good. So he's obviously inputted, probably in an open source model that now knows far too much detail about me and all my friends. He's put in all these details, and it's splurted out a song that's actually makes sense. Honestly, you could listen to it in a bar and you wouldn't even notice it was AI. So
Oh my God.
that was what, yeah. So I've been playing around with it. I was trying to get a jingle for this show, but my prompts weren't good enough at this stage. But maybe if you invite me again, I'll get a jingle for an intro.
I mean, it sounds like you need a bit of training from your mate because he's apparently nailed it.
That way, yeah. He works for the BBC, so he's probably got too much time on his hands.
I mean, I've not done anything quite that cool. I think the most interesting thing that I did last year was got some fun summer recipes for a picnic. So I was asking it to come up with some ideas. That was just for ChatGPT. I haven't heard of Udio before.
Until an hour ago, I hadn't. Do you know what? Yeah, I still use the butternut squash fettuccine recipe from ChatGPT. It was the best one that spurted it out. So yeah, I'm also a recipe goer for ChatGPT.
Amazing. Anybody else in the audience? Have you got maybe an interesting or fun usage of AI? I'm also enjoying the tiniest sliver of sunshine here in London today. It's been absolutely grim for the past week. Right. We've been on for a couple of minutes, so hopefully we've got a few people in the audience. So I'm going to go ahead and kick off. So officially, hi everyone, and welcome to Comms Club Live. I'm your host, Lauren Burgess, and today we're going to be joined by Patrick Hulbert from our partner, Simply, a Gallagher Company. And we're going to be diving into their recent AI report. So Patrick, I'm going to go ahead and let you introduce yourself because you're going to do a far better job of it than I will. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and your role?
Thanks, Lauren. Yeah, sure. So I'm the content, Patrick Hulbert, and I'm the Content and Communications Director at Simply, a Gallagher Company, as you alluded to there. We were recently acquired. I've been here for close to 3 years, and I absolutely love it. So we're still we're a small company, but now part of a much bigger family. So within my remit, I look after all our digital content output, including the Generative AI white paper that we'll talk about today. And along with my teammate Ayesha, I run out our comms and social strategy. As well as that, I also help with the content creation of our events and our flagship events as well, of which you were at one of ours earlier this week, Lauren. So that's my main remit within the company.
I absolutely was. Yeah, fantastic couple of days here in London at Simply IC. I've been to it a few times now, and this I think was the best one. It just gets better every year. Anyone in the audience, if you have not been to a Simply event yet, highly, highly recommend that. And there are going to be some coming up later this year, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. Yes, we mentioned you've been acquired by Gallagher. Congratulations. Can you tell us a little bit more about Simply Communicate and what it looks like today?
Yeah, sure. So I'll be really quick because I know we want to get into the generative AI elements of this. We were founded in 2004 by a gentleman called Mark Wright, and he is to this day still at the company. So it's 20 years in the making. It's designed to help an internal communications or corporate communications professional at every touch point of their career. So that's through the roster of events that we run, but also through our consulting services and through a closed off community that we run as well. So what we are in essence is a specialist digital workplace transformation consultancy with digital and AI capabilities, and we support, from the consulting angle, we support global clients on their people and transformation journeys. So we don't just implement the tech, we help have that help around the change program as well. So yeah, we've been doing this, and then I forgot the month, February this year, Gallagher finally acquired us as part of their communication consulting practice. So we've gone from being a company of 7 to a company of 51,000 overnight.
Wow, big changes. It must be really interesting actually for you, like being a partner to so many people through that change journey and now being on this massive one yourself. Like, Well, yeah, big adventure. Okay, so as we say, let's dive into the AI report. Why is it that you decided to embark on this research journey?
Yeah, so from our side, we'd noticed a lot of clients were coming to us asking around AI developments, and not necessarily generative ones. And there's still quite a, as the research shows, quite a bit of a knowledge gap around predictive technologies, generative technologies in general. So there was that element, and then obviously before November 2022, the generative element didn't exist. It was, ChatGPT just blew up the discourse around what artificial intelligence can empower people to do, and what and now it's able to learn from it. So it's not just within its own data set like predictive models, and it can learn and generate content output from that. So we've seen that, and then obviously roll on a few months, Microsoft, who are continuing to spend billions of pounds on generative technologies, they introduced Copilot into the ecosystem, and then that's what, now over a year in, they're getting obviously more intuitive as well. So that's the background to it, and then I have a personal interest as well. Years ago, I used to work on a predictive model. I used to work in on the machine learning and a large language model learning of something that basically presented news feeds to people, personalized news feeds. And although it's a different world now, 6 years later, I still see some of the same challenges. So it didn't understand nuance. So for instance, people can like content without clicking on it. And of course, internal communicators will say, yes, that should never be the core metric, clicks. And there's a reason for that. So actually engaging inspirational content doesn't always get that open, but it might get, let's say it's someone's done a charity run at work, it might get that like or heart emoji, but you're not that invested to go into the article. But predictive generative AI doesn't understand this. So it just thinks that anything engaging means clicking, clicking, clicking. All of a sudden, people are populated with gruesome crime stories or similar types of topics. So I'd seen Frankenstein's monster that was created 6 years ago, but I still see some of the biases and some of the human error as well that within generative products that I still see today. Yes, it's developed exponentially, but at the same time, we're still seeing this. And actually, if you are worried it's going to take your job, have no fear. This is something that will never ever go away. This need for human input and refining and checking. It's anything that it outputs. So that's my background as well. I have a personal passion for it, as does our managing director.
Amazing. Yeah. I mean, it must have been like, you must have felt like you were really on the cutting edge of it back then. That's so far away. Like 6 years feels like forever ago now.
Yeah, I know. And it was a multi-billion-pound company. It was an Opera. It was a web browser company. It's about the 5th biggest in the world, largest on the African continent. So it wasn't like it was some small model, but yeah, it did feel great in those days. But even then, I remember I didn't understand trends and insights. So it was before TikTok was launched, and my company was saying, yeah, we need some short form video platform. And I thought they were nuts. When Facebook's for that, So it's amazing how wrong you can be and how right you can be at the same time sometimes. But yeah, it's how it is now is almost unrecognizable. But as I say, I still see those same teething problems. As you can tell, I'm quite passionate about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you've touched on some of the challenges, but kind of taking a step back, what are some of the emerging trends that you're observing in the field of generative AI? Have you got any predictions for the future?
Yeah, so I'm going to make this talk mainly about using generative AI within your organization. So we're embedding it within your what's called private tenants, preferably. So that means that basically you go into your place of work and then you basically use some kind of chatbot that's generative, and then you get the outputs that you're looking for. Some of the larger organizations will claim that, so some of the big four, let's say, will claim that this is already upon us. You're already lagging behind. The reality is that very few organizations are actually using this technology yet, but we know that there's going to be an avalanche at some stage. There's going to be that snowball effect. So the second that companies, and there's already a couple who are seeing this, but the second that companies start seeing that enterprise innovation where it's giving them a competitive edge, there's going to be an adoption frenzy. I mean, we've predicted it's going to be around to the end of 2025 to the start of 2026. But I would say if you're a communications professional, watch this. Get this really on your radar now, not only for your own upskilling purposes, but because when that leaders realize that they want to go for this technology, they want to go in, they want to do it quickly, and then of course you've got all the digital transformation and change processes that they want to rush through, so you need to get this right at the point of adoption. Otherwise you might have a wonderful product that people are reluctant to use.
I mean, you specifically talked about AI for internal communicators. Like, why do you think it's so important for them, like understanding the capabilities of this, what it is?
I don't like the analogy that someone will replace you in your job. If the AI won't replace you, but someone who knows about it will. But there's data and research, not necessarily from our white paper, that says that it will. That leaders are invested. I think it was one that's clearly stated. I think it was McKinsey research that employers would rather have a less experienced person take on a role who actually knew about how to use generative AI technologies. So there's no real reason to be left behind with this. That you need just continuous upskilling is great and really important. And of course, the evolution of these models is so swift that you need to be doing this continuously. And I would say that when we're talking about products like Copilot or something similar, Google's equivalent, or any of the ones that are plugged in through partners such as Staffbase, test and play and learn, and just kind of, you do need to adapt, otherwise you're running this risk. So that's the most important thing I would say from this talk, really, Lauren.
Yeah, great point. I mean, you talked a little bit earlier about like how swift that change is going to be when people like suddenly like really jump onto it. And I think you've made a great point here that if you get close to the technology now, feel a bit comfortable with it and learn with it as it grows, you growing alongside the technology is not going to feel like that seismic, scary shift when it does come up. So yeah, really, really good points. I mean, how can knowledge of generative AI benefit like other departments within an organization as well beyond IC?
Yeah, I think it goes back to this, to the competitive advantage that organizations are striving for, Lauren. So I don't know if you're able to, in the comments, just add a couple of the levels of maturity models that I've made within the report. But what you want to do is you want to get your people comfortable by using these technologies. So the Microsoft Trend Index report came out a couple of weeks ago, and that showed that 78% of people are bringing their own AI to work, but they're not necessarily telling their employers that they're doing it. I'll go into the governance around this in a second, but as well as that, over 50% of those people aren't comfortable telling their manager or their organization that they're using this technology, for mainly fears that they think that they'll be seen as replaceable by them. So these are probably predominantly open model language chatbots, such as ChatGPT being the most famous iteration of that. The main issue with this is that that's an open source model. So everything that you put into it is further training the machine. So you want to be really careful. So it's great to test and use this. You want to be careful what you're putting in. So if you're putting in company sensitive data, you're running a real governance risk within your of actually leaking company sensitive materials that could actually get in the hands of competitors. The most famous example of this was Samsung at the start of the ChatGPT frenzy that was happening. So that's the most important thing, is to get, if you are going to implement generative AI technologies such as Copilot into your organization, get it in the private tenant, so it can still, through plugins and other means, technical means, it can still get that wider resource around, kind of the World Wide Web. But you're doing everything that within your organization, so it's just private data set. So the way to look at that, and then the maturity model that I'm speaking about, it starts with governance. So there's so the governance kind of, you have the guardrails in place. Everyone knows the rules of what they should and shouldn't be doing. If you get that governance in place at the start of your communications plan and digital change plan, then you can move on to step 2, which is tool selection and deployment. So you do the training and all of that. You move up to personal productivity, which is great. So obviously we're doing a bit of that ourselves. We're putting in, for instance, I use it occasionally if I'm writing listicles. And I will happily go to ChatGPT for that. There's no risk around that. So, and then that's personal productivity. And, you know, again, you're not doing it in shadow practices either. So you're doing it, you know, with confidence. And then the next and final and critical element is the enterprise innovation one. You know, and you're building AI for that competitive edge. Within the IC function, it could be that you're able to track data from your intranet or from your employee experience platform, or it might be that you're noticing trends that can help you formulate your communications plans. That's something within that department that you could use. But yeah, this is where you want to get to. And without plugging the report too much, the white paper too much, if you download it, you'll see our levels of maturity model that we work to, and that consulting division swear by when they speak to our clients.
Yeah, I'm going to have to join you in plugging it a little bit, because I can't actually post images in our comment section. So if you want to see the diagrams, you unfortunately are going to have to download the report. But it's fantastic.
Oh, what shucks.
Yeah, I mean, there are some genuine like horror stories around things that have been put into those open language models that really shouldn't have been. And it's incredibly important, like you say, to make sure that that is in place to keep you and your company protected. And we've had a question come in actually that's quite linked to this from Brianna. Thank you, Brianna. How would you recommend consultants use AI to support their clients without the governance and security issue? So ways that you can get around those problems.
Thank you, Brianna, yeah, thanks for listening to the webinar this afternoon. That's an extremely good question. I think that the reality is that you need to be upfront with your client, that you know if you're going to be doing any testing or any consulting work with them, that you'll be using an open model. If they've not adopted something within the enterprise that they're able to use, that then you just have to basically just use fake data sets, so stuff that isn't actually related to the business, false figures, that kind of thing, so that they can if they want to be doing a test and learn approach, then they can be doing it in there. But it is a significant workaround that's an issue, and I'm afraid that I haven't really got a really kind of solid answer for you on that, because it's our biggest level of concern as an organization around helping our clients get the governance right and the governance clear, not only around processes but around making sure that their X thousand employees adhere to these principles. So yeah, it's going to be difficult.
Thanks, Patrick. I've just seen a note as well that we've managed to share the maturity model that we've talked about on the LinkedIn Live event page. So it's sneak preview for you there, guys, but it is available. Thank you so much. Okay, moving on to the next question here. Could you share some of the most interesting or surprising findings from your research?
Yes, I can. I mean, what surprised me really, and this research was done about the actual, we did a bit of quantitative and qualitative surveying. So one thing that we noticed was people are really kind of conflicted. So quite a lot of this, and Microsoft go into kind of these power users, or the people that kind of bury their head in the sands, and communications professionals tend to either be quite split. So when we did it, 1 in 3 had never used a generative AI tool at all in any kind of work capacity. Again, although I'm saying don't use ChatGPT for data purposes, there's nothing to stop you doing, something really mundane that can help you with renaming a title for your newsletter or something like that. So there's no reason not to play around. And 1 in 4 had never used one ever before. About 90% of global organizations use the Microsoft Raft from our research, yet over half had never heard of Copilot, which is its flagship product. So there's a bit of a knowledge gap there, and we'll go on, I guess, later, but we'll go on to what you can do to upskill in these areas. But although the sample size wasn't big enough to put a definitive on this, but people from the United Kingdom were far more pessimistic about artificial intelligence, we noted. But then that also correlates with some YouGov research that I was doing. So it's not just communications professionals, but people in general. And again, nearly half the workforce, so it's not just communications professionals, but nearly half the workforce have an element of concern that AI in some capacity will take their job. So that's the biggest story. So there's two things I want to take away from this really. The first is getting the governance and the ethical practices right, but also it doesn't matter. The most important thing is getting this trust piece correct within organizations. Otherwise you're going to get a reluctance around adoption. So yeah, that was something. Again, 45% from the latest Microsoft Trend Index report suggests of all respondents, 31,000 suggested that they were worried that AI could take their job. That's from the year before, it was 49%. Because AI is getting so much more intuitive, it's not like that worry and concern is going away. Whether that concern is right or wrong is a different matter. And also there are thousands of generative AI models. I'm talking mainly about using these technologies to help with ideation and with creating intranet pages. There are other generative AI technologies that will be absolutely devastating for certain sectors, and also we've gone through this with the automation in the past century, automotive processes. With the same people. There's a report by the World Economic Forum which shows that other generative technologies will impact roles such as administrators, clerks, assistants, those kind of things. So just to bury your head in the sand and say no, everyone's going to benefit from AI isn't necessarily it's not actually accurate. So we need to be realistic about this. But I do believe while I'm talking about the AI I'm talking about, it really is just more of a benefit and a time-saving tool, and it's designed to help you, not hinder you or take your job like something out of the Terminator.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, it's since the dawn of time, right? Every time technology moves forward, work changes with that. And it's not eliminated. We're not in this dream utopia now where the robots do all the work. And I don't know if that's ever going to come, to be quite honest. And I do genuinely believe that AI will make your life easier, but there is never going to be a time when a human touch, genuine human creativity, empathy, all those things that are uniquely human will not be required. And I think those are such important things within internal communication. So I completely agree. We should not be terrified, but we do need to be ready for change.
Yes.
So, I mean, how do you think these findings might influence future developments, the findings in the research you've done in generative AI or related fields?
I think it just shows that there's a journey for communications professionals to go on, but it's not just communication professionals. So I think that from the research, 18% of organizations were actively encouraging the use of generative AI when we did it. And again, you'll find reports that say everyone's encouraging the uses. It's just simply not true from what we're seeing. And Quantum Black's research suggested it's only an agenda item right now for 1 in 4 senior leaders, whether or not to adopt some certain generative AI technologies. So I think that's an important point to raise. And I think that actually it just helps with this journey. Again, to state we've done some case studies in here with organizations that are using Copilot specifically, or their own AI. So one using their own AI is EY, one of the big four. We have a case study with them, and then we've got Grid GPT. So National Grid are using that as well. But adoption is still quite slow on generative AI processes. But I think that this report really shows that we're just starting to tick, and it's just starting to simmer. Again, from our event in the last couple of days, the knowledge is clearly increasing as well, not just within the communications professional, but also just in general within organizations. And I think it's becoming a more pertinent point of discussion for leaders moving forward. So I think it's just helping to simmer the debate and simmer kind of warm it up for when it was, we're predicting kind of late 2025, early 2026 frenzy of adoption.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when it's something like this, which is incredibly exciting, it's kind of in the news everywhere, there's going to be those few power users which are really getting the absolute most out of it and doing amazing things. And that's what you're going to be seeing all the time. Like the vast majority of people, like you say, are still not quite that close to it. And it creates this like artificial idea of like almost like a FOMO, like everyone's doing it and I'm not, and it increases that fear. And yeah, really important research, I think, that you've highlighted this.
Yeah.
So why do you think, with all of these amazing advantages, that some organizations are choosing to ban the use of generative AI technologies?
Well, it may not be for everyone. And so first and foremost, if your digital workplaces, this is an aside point, but if your digital workplace is in a mess, don't expect generative AI or Copilot technology to just fix it, or anything that any employee engagement platform provider can provide you. It's trawling. If it's work specific, it's trawling from a very small data set, and if that is something where it's been on a classic SharePoint intranet page and it's just died, somewhere, and it's still existing somewhere within the ecosystem, it's going to pull up nonsense like that, which is actually a phrase. I mean, it's regarding inputting data, so it's got a giga or garbage in, garbage out, but it's the same principle. If what it's trawling is rubbish, then all you're going to get is maybe some nice PowerPoint templates, if that's what you were trying to, if you were trying to make a 10-point PowerPoint, for instance. So that's the first thing just to flag. Yeah, this isn't a magic, a silver bullet that's just going to fix all your problems within your digital workplace ecosystem. But there are other reasons why. I mean, there are also really serious things to consider as an organization. You have to think about the risk versus the appetite among employees. And you also have to think about other elements. So you have to check in with your other stakeholders. Is it an equitable platform to use in your business around digital literacy, around whether or not your employees have access? There are ESG sustainability implications around generative or any AI technology. It uses up a lot of carbon dioxide, and are you able to justify that use, especially depending on what your sustainability targets are. There are those elements as well, and again, there's the whole governance piece around it. So, frankly, it may be that it isn't the right option for every single organisation to just adopt generative AI technologies. And what you need to do is set up a steering committee, and you can lead that as communicators. You're the glue, the fabric that make up the organization. You're the ones that connect people, so you have that ability and that to actually make a real impact within the organization. But yeah, it needs to have a lot of work. I mean, actually, without plugging it again, but we can go into real details into that in the white paper. But yeah, it's there are a whole range of ethical, sociological, societal, political, and organizational factors that you need to think about before taking the plunge.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I learned at Simply IC this week about the environmental impact of AI. I genuinely had no idea what that actually took to bring this to life. So yeah, if you're like me and also didn't know that, definitely something to look into, because yeah, I was very surprised. And it is a really good reason why it might not be a good fit for you. I'd love to, we've got a couple of minutes left here, so kind of come back to the internal communicators, which are our wonderful audience. What do you or kind of the research findings believe are the benefits of AI for internal communicators?
Yeah, within I've got a note somewhere, so if I look down, then I apologize. But yeah, so from an internal communications personal kind of usage view, they've got that ability to save time. It is good for generating ideas. If it's not there already, it's good to make new intranet pages. There's Copilot Studio, or there's other equivalents available. So you've got those time-saving techniques. The research shows us that people are using it they're looking to language translations, and then ideation and generation. So you've got those elements as well. But what you've also got is, my phone's buzzing off, so I'm assuming we're getting loads of downloads, by the way, which is great. But yeah, so that's from a personal level, but then from a professional level as well, you've got the ability to train the trainers, to train your AI trainers within organizations. You've got the ability, as I mentioned, to lead this, even if you're pre and during adoption and post adoption, you can lead the steering committees around this. No one wants a technical developer doing the AI training. You have the ability to get those skills and do that. And what do leaders really like? They like jargon-free context. So again, we're good at this. So if you have the skills and the knowledge, and you've been speaking to the right people across the steering group, then you can be the one that actually has a genuine influence on maybe not the final decision of yes or no, but on how you implement it and how you make sure that your people go through that change curve. Because it's any digital transformation project brings along humongous fear and for some and delight for others, but reality is it's fear for most. Leaders love it and think everyone else will just kind of do whatever you're being told, but they need to know why, how it fits their values, purpose, missions, and most importantly, business strategy. So yeah, that's what I'd say. Like, this is the opportunity for communications professionals, that strategic level of input that we're all striving for, and I think that's where that there's a real return of investment for us in our profession, and also I think that there's no reason why you can't have the communications AI experts. There's no reason why that can't be an official job title. Never mind an unofficial AI expert. You can be that. There'll be new jobs created by this. I'm absolutely certain.
100%. Yeah, communicators have that connection with their leaders, be that trusted voice, and help guide change. I love it. Well, unfortunately, that is actually all the time that we have. Thank you so much, Patrick, for joining me and providing all of this amazing information. I'm absolutely buzzing and so excited to get back into writing my own prompts because I find it so exciting. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. There is a link on the event page for you to download a copy of the report for yourself. And I hope to see you at another LinkedIn Live in the future. And if not, at a Simply IC event in the future.
Thank you, Lauren. And of course, find me on LinkedIn, anyone who's attended this. But Lauren, thanks ever so much. I've really enjoyed this.
My pleasure. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.